Hello and welcome to the video. This is a video done in conjunction with Ben up at 3DXR, so a massive thank you to Ben for sharing his knowledge and know-how. I'll put a link down below to the 3DXR website, do go and check it out. Now, one of the questions that I get asked on a regular basis is how does it all work when you have a MAVLink connection coming down to a laptop where you have something like Mission Planner or Q Ground Control. You also have a connection via a normal connection via Express LRS or Crossfire or something else for your radio control, and maybe you might plug some kind of controller into the computer itself, be that some kind of joystick or some kind of gamepad. How does that all work together? And there are a couple of wrinkles, and Ben was explaining it to me, so I set up the cameras, press record on the audio equipment, and Ben is now going to explain it all to you, so hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. I know to me it did after he'd gone through it.
We're going to do a video today on showing connecting to your aircraft via MAVLink. In this case, we're going to connect to, the drone's got a adhere link on it. We're going to connect the adhere link to a laptop running Mission Planner. So I'm going to go through those quick connection steps, but this could be other devices that give you MAVLink in the air. So for example, telemetry only would be the RFDs or the 433 telemetry radios. There's also various other smart controllers like this or IP connections, and we're going to show you what you can do while it's in the air and you're connected using MAVLink to your ground control software. So let's get started. Our adhere link's powered on. We're using a trusty T2 Ranger. So these are both powered on and we have connection. What I need to do on here is I'll launch one of its built-in software, so in this case it's QGC. This needs to be running in the background, and I'm going to set up the hotspot. So let's have a little look if that's turned on by default. So options, tethering and portable hotspot. Portable Wi-Fi hotspot is on, so that's good. And now we need to connect the laptop to this. So let's navigate into here and make sure our laptop is connected to the Wi-Fi. And I can then press connect via UDP. Depending on the order you do this in, most of the time it will auto connect once you've made that Wi-Fi connection. So if you connect to your handset via Wi-Fi and then open Mission Planner, it will just instantly connect. In this case, during this demo, I've just manually pressed connect in the corner, and it's a UDP connection. What we can see here is the plane's appeared, moving the plane, the HUD moves, we're getting live data. So because we're inside, this will jump around a little bit, but we are now connected to the drone on this laptop. It's a wireless connection to the adhere link handset, so you would be limited by that range. So if you walk too far away from the laptop, you will disconnect. And the adhere link is obviously connected using its radio to the plane here, the adhere wing. So some simple things you can do to see that we're connected. We can change modes. So as I click a flight mode on here, you can hear the plane beeping. It is enacting that flight mode. This is how we do our sort of first flights and adjusting settings while we're in the field. So I know, for example, this plane has a mission on it. So in the plan function, I can read back our last missions. This was our little test flight or landing approaches. I can delete missions. I can write the empty mission. So we have full control there. I can also adjust all the parameters over the air. So this is a very good way that we'll be doing our tuning during flight. So I can turn on or off our airspeed calibration. There is a couple of little sort of caveats that you should be careful of. So on this model here we have some flight mode buttons. So an example here, let's say we'll press fly-by-wire A. Now this is also true for, say, the modes switch on a Radio Master, Free Sky. What I can do, I can override this flight mode now by selecting any flight mode from the menu here. So we could go into manual, for example, and that is sent the flight mode command via MAVLink to the vehicle here. But what we have is this button is still pressed, and that would be the same as a switch. If you're in the low position on your switch, So if I press this button now, we're not getting fly-by-wire A, and that's because this switch is already pressed, but we've sort of overwritten that mode over MAVLink. So in order for this to work, I'd have to sort of switch a mode, come back, now it works there. So there's a few little things like this where you need to understand what's happening, what's in control. That's one thing you have to be aware of, and this would be the same if you're using your Free Sky radio, your Radio Master. If you are in a flight mode that you've sort of labeled on the switch, you've got it in the up position, for example, you've overwritten that via the laptop, you have to sort of move that switch in order to get back into that flight mode. So that mode switch has been sort of overridden, so you might have to middle and up again to enact that. So anything like this you should sort of experiment with on the ground, make sure you're getting the functionality you expect. But essentially this is the telemetry link where you can use Mission Planner on your drone. Because we're using the adhere link, we can also get the video in. There's another thing I'd like to show you that is interesting for using this MAVLink connection. It could be by the adhere link, it could be by RFD, it could be by a 433 radio. Is we can plug a joystick into the laptop and use that to fly the drone. So at the moment our sticks are controlling it, but let's have a little look if we want to quickly set up this gamepad. It could be a controller like this, these work, Xbox controllers work, any sort of joystick that you can use on a computer will work. But let's have a little look what happens when I plug this in and how I can set this up. There's a few ways to get to the joystick menu. So in the bottom left here there's an actions tab. We have joystick here. This will bring up the panel. You can also get the same panel from the config and planner settings. So let's click on this. Now I know this is a very common gamepad, and this, as soon as you plug it in, it basically works. So I picked up here the F310 and it's seeing it. So I did have a little play of this earlier and I mapped some buttons, but let's remap RC1, which is aileron. I can press auto detect, I can press OK, and then if I move the axes, it's mapped that. So I did that for aileron, elevator, throttle and rudder. You can map buttons to be modes, you can map controls on cameras, all sorts. So if I save that and enable it, I'm just going to close this window. Now let's see what happens. Okay, we're now using the joystick to control, if you can hear that, and what's happened is that's overridden the adhere link. Yep. And depending on your style of flying, there is a little bit of latency in here, not really obvious to the eye, but you just got to bear that in mind. So there'll be certain styles of flying that this might not be as suitable. If you're in the highly automated modes, the latency isn't really an issue, but it is, visually it looks good, but some people, you're not going to do FPV flying through windows of this. You could try it, but maybe not. How do we get out of this mode now? We want to land, want to use a controller. Since we've enabled the joystick, there is now a button appears in the HUD here in the top left. Disable joystick. Disable joystick. Nothing. Back online. So this is a controller, a game controller. It could be a flight yoke. Could be all sorts of different controls to fly the aircraft. Also, now that we've connected in this case to a GCS, whether that's via adhere link or a RFD or telemetry radio, there is some additional failsafe settings. So traditionally most people will use a transmitter or a throttle failsafe and no pulses. You can also set a failsafe for the GCS. So it might be if you're flying missions and this radio has more range than your handset, so say an RFD has a tremendous range, your controller only has a few hundred meters, you can set a different failsafe that's triggered by the loss of this link. So if you have permission to do long mapping missions beyond visual line of sight and you're using a telemetry radio but you don't have RC control, you can set a failsafe that says when I lose this connection, do an RTL. So just bear in mind that's those two settings you have. You have your RC failsafes, but you also have your GCS failsafes. So an example, when you're connected this way, you would want to set one of those failsafes that match your requirements. But this is a very sort of simple overview of some of the things you can do by having this MAVLink connection in the air. Now I find this very valuable to monitor your aircraft. You can see where it is, nice clear view. This HUD is amazing. You can see your roll angles, your height. There's certain parameters you can adjust during flight, so turning off airspeed calibration, and so there's certain things you can adjust while it's in the air, but this to me is invaluable for tuning and setting up aircrafts, and for most of the Ardupilot based vehicles I use, I will always have a telemetry connection to them via adhere or other telemetry radios. So a couple of things to mention there, that when you do start to use systems like this where you have a controller and then also the telemetry link, and if you are starting to sort of take control from a laptop then jump back to the handset, just to make sure you're fully familiar with what's going on and what this action over there has done to this control over here. So I'd advise that you thoroughly understand and test this on the bench, not in the air. Make sure your failsafes are set correctly so it does what you want it to do in the event of a lost connection from either or controllers. Also, we've mentioned a couple of different methods for doing this system. There is quite a few other ways to connect to your drone in the air. There's some little ESP radio modules, so you can get some quite low cost Wi-Fi modules that connect to your serial port and offer you, a little bit of range. They'll be affected greater by nearby Wi-Fi and whatever, but you can, for a small amount of money, get nice Wi-Fi adapters that are very good for, say, initially setting up a copter, having this nice telemetry feed without too much hardware additions to the vehicle. That will give you a good link and allow you to tune it while it's in the air. So there is a range of options available to do this link. All the types of vehicle we use, we will put dual links on. We will have a hand controller and some sort of telemetry. It's a much safer way to do it. It gives you lots of options in case of an issue. But like I say, the most important thing to take away from this is, if you're experimenting, sending commands from the GCS, if you plug in a joystick in, do make sure you test it thoroughly on the bench, check your stick reversals, make sure it's responding exactly how you want, to avoid any issues.
Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Pedantry 60 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.